When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome to another episode of the Wrap Up, where we will be taking a look at the new episode of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms titled In the Name of the Mother. An episode where nothing happened, everything went well. Prince Baelor is just sleeping, he's napping, he's meditating. Joining me today, as always, for this show is my co-host, Evan Harris.
It was all a dream. No, unfortunately it wasn't. This was a fantastic episode. Glad to be back. One more episode left. The classic Game of Thrones penultimate episode here. Wow. It wasn't it like, classic Game of Thrones, people used to talk about episode 9 being the crazy shit happening.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? That was the case, right? Like the penultimate episode, shit went crazy. And that definitely was the case here. I'm still shocked. Because I remember while you're watching the episode, I wasn't even thinking about like the dream that Darren, whatever his name is, had. I'm just sitting there in the moment. I'm like, oh man, this is some great shit. And then it all just falls apart, Edgar. It all just shatters, and I'm left shocked. Like they really pulled a 2012 or 2013, what's it called? Gus Breaking Bad shit. The way he turned around, he saw like the full face shit. Cinema, man, cinema. It was peak television. Best episode yet. We say it every week, but it is the best episode yet now. It's like this show, the definition of getting better and better. It's January in 2026 is going to be a stacked, unbelievably stacked year for TV. But this is undoubtedly going to be one of my top 10 shows of the year. I don't see 10 other shows topping this one. This one is it's so special. It's so strong. I'm loving everything about it.
Here's hoping it continues in this universe with season 3 of House of the Dragon, which we have thoughts about that show. We like it more than most people.
Can we talk about that real quick? Small rant. I'm just like, every weekend, people use this show as a chance to bring down House of the Dragon. Like, the hate for season 2, I feel like, escalated after season 2 aired. Like, while it was airing, people were, like, annoyed by each episode. But people weren't saying, like, man, this shit sucks, right? Like, am I wrong? I mean, people weren't saying, like, this shit sucks. There was obvious flaws. We talked about it on our podcast. But, like, people were hating on it. Now it's like, oh, man, this episode's better than the whole House of the Dragon series. I'm like, let's chill out here. Like, House of the Dragon season 1 is strong as fuck.
People forget that they were like losing their shit every week for season 1 of House of the Dragon.
That's what I'm saying. Season 1, they lose their minds. In season 2, like, people had complaints about like blood and cheese, but it was nothing like game-breakingly like, oh, this show is ruined because it didn't do blood and cheese right. Like, come on, guys. And then there was some questionable stuff towards the end, but most of the part for season 2 had some really, really strong character work, I think. So I can't wait for season 3. We're going to be here on, every week in the summer talking about season 3. And I think it's going to be a great season because giving fans what they want and, a lot of battles and shit. Not that Game of Thrones saw battles, but just like, people were anticipating something they should have gotten in season 2. We're getting it in season 3. And,
Yeah. I will say I do find it interesting that we're talking about the penultimate episode for this show and how almost every season of Thrones always had like the big like WTF moment of the season leading up to like the finale. And it's funny because I feel like House of the Dragon hasn't even really had that yet. Like I guess you could say like the whole dragon pit thing in season 1, it's kind of like a big moment, but it's not like really like shocking per se. And we know from interviews and from like behind the scenes stories that season 2 House of the Dragon was supposed to have that big climactic penultimate
Sea
episode with the sea battle, but it got moved to season 3 because of budgetary reasons and the writer's strike and all of that shit. So,
oh wait, you mean it wasn't Ryan's fault, Edgar? Well, I thought everything bad was all right. I thought Ryan was a hack. What's going on here?
Yeah, and I mean, we're finally gonna see what was meant to be the penultimate episode be the opener for season 3. So we'll see how that goes. Season 3 is supposed to be 8 episodes too, right? Which is I think it is, and if that's the case, I could be wrong, but if that's the case, I do find it weird. Especially because like HBO, you have the money. We know.
It should be 10. Yeah.
It should be 10, but I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Let's get into the episode.
One thing before the episode, sorry, but we just got word from Gold Derby that HBO is positioning A Night of Seven Kingdoms as a drama series for the upcoming Emmy series, which is funny. I brought this up, like, I think a couple episodes ago. Like, where would this be campaigned as? Like, I thought it would go the comedy route. Like, the first 5 seconds of the show, you get fart jokes and shitting on the main theme. So I figured it would go like the comedy route, because it does lean in that half an hour. There's drama, but there's also a lot of comedy. It's in the tone of The Bear, per se, and The Bear is a comedy, apparently, according to the Emmys. So I figured this would go the Bear route, but no, this is getting positioned as a drama alongside The Pit season 2, Industry season 4, It, Welcome to Derry, and other HBO shows, which I'm cool with. I'm just kind of shocked a little bit, but hopefully it gets its due.
I mean, it makes sense if they want to have like a Game of Thrones spin-off in the lineup, because season 3 of House of the Dragon won't be eligible. It won't make the deadline. So
no, exactly.
It makes sense for them to try to push this into that category.
Does HBO have hacks? Is that what HBO is doing?
They do. Well, it's Max technically, but same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they probably don't want to spread the wealth because they figure hacks is going to sweep everything. But yeah, that's my awards talk. But let's talk about this crazy episode, as you mentioned, Edgar, titled "In the Name of the Mother," which I thought was very fitting because I instantly clocked like, oh, this is a very core theme for Dunk, who's all about like knighthood, even though he might or might not be a knight himself. He's really parading around his life around the core tenets of being a knight, protecting the innocent, right? Isn't that what the in the name of the mother goes? Like, in the name of the mother, I charge you to protect the innocent and children, something along those lines. So it kind of relates exactly to what's happening in this episode with Dunk protecting, or failing to protect the innocent in Rafe, but then fighting against the bully in Arryn, where he wasn't able to as a kid.
And also seeing an example of somebody else protecting the innocent with Sir Arlen.
Sir Arlen, who has been such a complex, fascinating figure. We haven't had like a full-on, Arlen, episode, but we've gotten a lot about him through flashbacks. And I'd like seeing it here. We'll discuss the depths of the flashback. Before we dive in, how do you feel about the flashbacks in the context of this episode? For me, it worked pretty flawlessly. I really liked it. Flashbacks are always difficult for writers and directors. They don't like doing flashbacks, especially in a high octane, highly anticipated battle. But I think this one really worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard what I thought was gonna be the eminent complaints of like, oh, it's a distraction from the action, and I if anything, I feel like it kind of like elevates the action in a sense, because the whole flashback, it has like several purposes. The first one that we already mentioned was the whole defending the innocent with Sir Arlen, and how basically Dunk really is or was very much like an egg of like, he just followed Sir Arlen around Westeros until he took him under his wing, just like Egg did with Duncan. So there's that. Then there's the whole juxtaposition of Rafe and her trying to like stand up against just an egotistical maniac, essentially, with like Sir Alistair, who is supposed to represent what chivalry is, because he is a knight and he is like
was he an official gold cloak?
That's what it seems like to me.
Okay.
Which is very similar to what you would assume somebody like Arion should represent, like chivalry and honor, but obviously he doesn't. He's kind of insane as well. So there's like that parallel between Alistair and Arion, and then the obvious thing of having somebody who impacted Duncan's life very much with Rafe and then Baylor later on, and both of them dying kind of to like, in a sense, trying to fight against this type of men in Westeros.
That's
Um,
Yeah, that's the biggest piece of the flashback that connected with me having immediately after finishing the episode. I'm like, okay, Rafe and Baylor are like the core tenets of the flashback because Rafe has kind of like bigger dreams and bigger aspirations than Dunk, who is like primarily lonely. He's lonely, misses his mom, while Rafe is she's dreaming of like, we gotta get out of here. I want to leave. I want to have like a better place outside of here. Dunk, also wants to leave, but he's also like, he's too nervous. He's too scared. He's not as brave as she is. And that kind of exemplifies Baylor, who's very brave and just and noble and has bigger dreams for Westeros overall. But then both of them are cut short tragically in Dunk's arms, and he's powerless to do anything about it.
yeah, and then the other additional material of context, I guess you could say, with Rafe, is that you could very well connect the dots of why he reacted the way that he did when Arion was snapping Tensel's fingers in episode 3.
Yeah.
Not only do they look alike, but it's that thing of I failed to save somebody who I had somewhat of feelings for, and now it's happening again. But like I can actually do something about it this time.
I can do something about it, and I'm supposed to do something about it.
Yeah, and I've heard people complain that it's like, oh, like they're kind of like beating you over the head with the whole thing about like him being honorable and why he would like do the thing that he did to defend Tencel. And yeah, I guess you could make that argument, but when it works, it works. So it doesn't really bother me here.
Doesn't really bother me at all. Yeah, the whole there are times in TV and movies where things can get repetitive, but I think this works in the context of, because it's not just about him being a knight. It's also about him, in his connection to Arlen and to those who he failed as well. So I think it works in a multitude of ways as we discussed. So it's not just beating us over the head with it again, which it kind of is, but again, it works, it fits, it's like a poem, it rhymes. So let's discuss the episode here, starting off in the first couple of scenes here. My man Baylor, his last triumphant. It's still weird saying that. I didn't expect this to happen at all. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. One day later, I'm still shocked. But Baylor here delivering, battle instructions to the squad. Basically, like, and this is very fascinating because it's like they're going into this trial of 7, this trial of combat with 7 people. And as we discussed last week, I'm like, who's dropping? Who's going to die? Like, what's Baylor's prerogative here? Because he's going against his own brother, Maekar. He's going against his own nephew, and Arion. It's like, does he want them to die? That's kind of the discussion we had last week. But it seems here it's like, okay, just live, guys. We got to survive this shit. Like, I don't want any of you guys to, like, I'm trying to create as minimal casualties as possible. And, we'll discuss this with the stuff going into next week, but like, he doesn't have as much skin in the game as other people do, especially Dunk, because he has a lot of protection. He's going in this with a lot of protection and defense that the other people just do not have. So it's very interesting that this guy, who he does have the most experience in battle readiness, is delivering all this to Dunk. And Dunk's nervous. Him and Raymond are literally throwing up while this is going on.
Green fucking boy, says Sir Her Humphrey says. No, yeah, I do agree. The slight difference between the show and the book is that if I remember correctly, Baylor's plan is like a little bit more laid out in the sense of like, you go against this person, you against this person, I'll go against the Kingsguard, and it's a little more like strategic in a sense. And I feel like they just changed it just to make it like a little more simple in the show. But again, it's not a huge deal, so it's still the same outcome anyway. So.
Especially because people don't know like the name. So if on the show Baylor's like, so Lion, I went to target Sir Beesbury. People in the audience are like audience as in the watchers are like, who's that again? It's like it doesn't really matter. It's like we know who Kingsguard are, we know who Baylor is, so it's like we don't really need to give off like specific name instructions, which works better in books because by then we kind of know these characters a little bit more than a TV show. And in of course the novellas or the graphic novels. By the way, when you said you're reading novellas, are you reading the stuff with like the color and the images, or are you just reading the actual like novella?
It's the novellas, the actual books, but they have like sketches some every once in a while within the book, so
Okay,
you do get like visual references here and there.
got it. Because I keep seeing like the graphic novel adaptation version of it, like the other version.
Yeah, I never read those, but I mean they seem fun, like an an alternative.
Yeah. But yeah, this shit was great. Again, Dunk's green as hell. Everybody's getting ready, and just let's discuss the incredible direction, sound work going on in this entire episode. It starts here as Dunk's like charging in. I don't think I'm missing anything else, but like everybody's getting ready to charge in. They're charging in, and the sound kind of like goes distant. We get into Dunk's mind space here. His mindset where he's just nervous as shit. Egg screaming, "Go, go, go!" And Dunk's just like, he's nervous as shit, and then he has to charge in, and we go from third person to first person point of view. Excellent. I was losing my mind.
Yeah, and it also just goes to show just how green Duncan is, because just on the first charge, he immediately gets hit with the lance. From Arion in the stomach. Man, so brutal. Like I told I think I told Josh this when he watched the episode. This is really, to me, like probably the most brutal medieval fight scene sequence that I've seen put to screen since The Last Duel. Ridley Scott's The Last Duel.
Love Last Duel.
Really great. You feel every fucking blow. I figured that some people might not be huge fans of like some of the shakiness of it all, because I do admit it can be a little bit hard to tell who is doing what, but it's still visible, and I feel like that is part of like them trying to keep the focus on Arion and Duncan during the Trial of Seven, and that's something that I really appreciate from the show, because any other adaptation, I feel like in the hands of any other showrunner, you could have easily done the cool thing of like, oh, let's switch perspectives of like who is doing what, or like, okay, let's check in on Bale, or let's check in on Raymond, but like no, like you keep it just how it is in the book, which is like 100% in Duncan's perspective, and the whole maniac, the chaos that is happening around him. Yeah, like I love the way that they shot this.
Me too. Like, I think it was great because it's visceral and it's visible. I was never really confused because they mainly did keep it on people I knew. I knew who Arion looked like in his red, black, hard to miss dragon armor. I knew who Duncan is. And they kept it, even though it is chaotically framed, they kept that, at least the heart of the match, in frame. And they hardly ever showed us what was happening elsewhere besides, we'll get to it, the Makor, Baylor, Lionel stuff, which was totally intentional. But everything else was kept in frame. And yeah, I gotta admit, I came in here being like, man, Arion, he was so scared of Dunk fighting him one-on-one because he can't fight that well. This guy can fight. This guy can box. Like, okay, I was wrong. Okay, Arion can box. Little did he know he's going against 250 over here Dunk, who, can take 20 hits or whatever, when Arion probably only take like 5. Like, so it's, Dunk has like weight and defense on him, and he was getting poked the hell out of. But okay, nice. Like a stat like that would have taken out an average guy, like off the jump. But Dunk just like tanks it and takes it out. I'm like, oh,
yeah. Shit. The way that Arion fights, it almost reminded me of Arya. Like the way that he was using the sword, like if it was like a kitchen knife, just like dun, 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 dun. Yeah. It's like hate the guy, but that shit was really fucking cool.
Really cool, really cool. Like you can tell he's been, he's been trained, from being in this like rich house, being a noble house. He's been training since a young age. He's a dragon, so he's been trained for a young age. Dunk isn't that well trained. He can do some good shit, but he's not as trained as like some of the other people out there. Again, he's just like he's built, he's strong, he has a lot of defense, he has a lot of blubber on him, so he can take a lot of these hits. It was just so wild, just like as you mentioned, right off the bat, a hit in the gut with the lance, the jousting lance, and then immediately hit again in the head with the mace to the head, which knocks him on his ass. Like he doesn't get a scratch on Arion until the second half of the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, all of it is great. And like, one of the things that we've been applauding the show for doing is the whole colorful armors of it all, since
Yeah.
we've seen it in episode 2, basically. And like, even though it is very chaotic and it is very centered on Dunk, and like you can like sometimes hardly tell what's going on in the background, it does help that everybody has very distinctive armor. Like you can tell Lionel is Lionel because of the antlers of his helm. um I would say maybe Baylor and Maker are the only two that are kind of hard to tell which one is which, because it's a very similar armor, even though like Maker's has like those like kind of like teeth spiky things around him. Raymond is obviously wearing his like just like the red thing that he was wearing last week, that he's been wearing throughout the show. Stefan with his apple cider armor that is so fucking cool. That's probably my favorite of the show, even though I hate him. And then although the two Kingsguard, which is are very like noticeable and
Very
different
cool.
from everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the whole thing is just, again, very visceral. And I do think we need to talk about going back to the flashback of how the flashback itself opens, which it opens with the aftermath of the last battle of the first Blackfyre rebellion, which happened in Red Grass Field.
But by the way, before we get into this, I am shocked how every single episode is a Blackfyre rebellion shit. I did not expect that going in. I was like somebody who knows. I know everything about the Blackfyre rebellion. I know from this guy. I know from Edgar. I don't know. I need to read the book. I know Fire and Blood, but it's crazy how predicated this show is upon the Blackfyre rebellion. It's so like rich and steep in its history and lore.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when George wrote the first novella, The Hedge Knight, he wasn't thinking about Blackfyre. There's no mentions of the Blackfyre rebellions. That comes like after in the second novel, and then obviously in the other books in the series. So it is very much the show kind of getting ahead of itself, of like, we know we're going to be talking about this a lot in future seasons and maybe in future spin-offs if HBO decides to do something there. So might as well let's start introducing this in the first season of the show, even though none of it is in the book.
Wow.
But yeah, like the reason why I find it notable that that's how the flashback opens is because that is the one iconic battle of the Blackfyre rebellion that gives Baylor and Maekar the whole hammer and the anvil persona. And like the way that whole thing goes is Daemon Blackfyre's army is like somewhere, let's say like in the center of the field. Maekar kind of like blocks it from the top, and then Baylor kind of comes from the other side and kind of like, like they
like a pincer attack.
Yeah, sort of like that. So to me, like kind of like contrasting that to what happens in the Trial of Seven later on, of how real it gets for everybody really quickly. Because you would think like maybe like the Trial of Seven, it's like, oh, like everybody else gonna be like giving each other like, petty hits here and there, but like no, it becomes very personal. It becomes very very real really quickly. And I'm trying to put like myself in the shoes of somebody like Baylor and like Maekar, who actually lived through that moment of history. They were war heroes of that period of time in this world. And then what each tourney is, each jousting, and obviously the Trial of Seven is basically trying to like recreate war, but like with people that may or may not have participated in war. This is something that Rhaenys talks about to Corlys in episode 1 of House of the Dragon, when the whole tourney is happening in King's Landing before the birth of Viserys' new child, and how like none of these people have gone to war. They're just playing at war. And that's what every tourney is. So here you have like these two war heroes going at it because of very petty circumstances with like Arion and like this just random guy who was trying to do the right thing. So I just found like the whole thing very interesting of how like they contrast the Blackfyre rebellion to what's happening now. And like again, that's not the only Blackfyre rebellion that we will see throughout history. There's like 4 or 5 rebellions across of Westeros history.
That's funny. But yeah, like as you mentioned, it all is about connections, whether it's about Blackfyre Rebellion, the connections to like, the true family. And here where it goes like the connections between, it's a petty fight between, again, it's petty for everybody else, and the main fighters who are taking it super seriously are Aryan and Dunk. But again, it's kind of like a world war, right? Where it's like, okay, Aryan's taking it seriously, but because Aryan's taking it seriously and he's in danger, that creates infighting between Maker, who then has to get involved, then Baylor gets involved, Lionel, who's helping out Dunk. So all these other alliances get entangled because these other people are taking it way more seriously than everybody else. It's tragic. It's all about all these messy connections that people are having in this world. But one of the connections I really loved in this show, in this episode, was Rafe and Dunk. A very fascinating connection. When I was looking at the preview last week, I was like, oh, is that like Dunk's like sister, or like what's going on here? But no, these two people, I guess they just grew up together in the bottom of Flea Bottom, living literally in like on the floor beneath the house. Like, this is some crazy. They were like living in a jail cell. I know we talked about it last week in regards to Dunk being used to being in this Targaryen prison. But yeah, this is like some kind of like cellar beneath the house. Like, it was very disgusting and cramped and just very gnarly. But I did like seeing Dunk and Rafe kind of like in their scavenger phase here, trying to save this guy. They were ready to rip that guy in half, by the way. He was so far gone. He was stuck in that mud. They were going to rip the guy in half. They pulled him even closer. That was very funny. And I like Rafe saying, like, should we pray for him? Like, should we do something? It's like, I don't know any words. Like, I don't know. And let me just say, the kid actor for Dunk portrayed him to a T to how Homeboy does it in the present. Like, it's so phenomenal. Like, they were like so. I love when they cast younger actors or even older actors at times who can play their counterpart so freaking perfectly.
This saga has a really good reputation with casting perfect young and like adult actors. We saw that like primarily with House of the Dragon between like Millie and Emma, Emily and Olivia. And,
for sure.
Great.
It's perfect casting. And just like the way he's so like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like he has like that hunched over like Eeyore attitude. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. Oh, by the way, we got to mention it before we went to the flashbacks here, but Dunk's last words to Egg Dog before they went charging in. And Dunk's like, you better be here, when I get back. It's like, Dunk, you're the one going to battle. I was like, it was so fascinating. It was so heartbreaking and so beautiful at the same time. Like, these two have come a long way, damn it. And I love them. You can hear Dunk getting like choked up as he's about to charge in. Like, I love that scene so much.
Our lads have inside jokes now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the whole Rafe thing, another thing that entire flashback does is in the book when Duncan and Aryan are going at it, and it finally gets to the point where it's getting real between the two, and Duncan finally gets like the upper hand against Aryan, and there's like this line of he no longer was fighting like Sir Duncan the Tall. He was fighting like Dunk from Flea Bottom, and that is really important to the flashback because it very much does illuminate how those survival instincts kick in later on in the episode. Even though he's not fighting, the whole thing of him like trying to get the shoes from the horse and like going from basically corpse to corpse and trying to find anything just to like pay for food and like pay to maybe potentially get out of Westeros and go to the free cities to Essos. That's where all the survival instincts come in, and obviously the whole confrontation with Alistair later on, it all really informs the way that he fights when he has to actually fight.
Yeah, Dunk has so much tenacity. His back has been up against the wall, something that Aryan is just not used to. He's never had to fight like his life depends on it. He's never had to fight in mortal danger. He doesn't know what to do when a knife is at his throat, when a fist is at his face. Like, he doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know how to like crawl, get back up, literally get up. He doesn't know how to do that because he's never been pushed down in the first place. While Dunk has been pushed down constantly as a kid and now is growing up. And what's so beautiful about this is when, him and Rafe have such like beautiful young aspirations. So we saw Dunk and Egg have their own aspirations. Like, I want to marry a lord, I want to marry a knight. In this case, as a kid, they just want to leave. They just want to go, free cities or whatever. Dunk just misses his mom. It's so young, it's so innocent, and so like full of hope, but then it's shattered with Rafe over some petty bad booze, and knife theft, just some petty stuff, especially from a knight, from an Alistair who was supposed to be a knight. And Dunk again is just so helpless in the past. He's checking on Rafe. Meanwhile, Sir Arlen has to come in and defend him in the name of the mother, while he's just again defenseless to save his own one and only best friend. And what makes it so beautiful, as you mentioned, like Dunk from Flea Bottom, now in the present, has grown. He has fought back. The Trial of Sevens happened because of him, and now he's able to fight back against this bully where he was powerless to do so in the past. Now he is able to do it. He's able to get up, and he's able to fight back against somebody who, in the past, he would have had no chance against. But thanks to people like Sir Arlen, people giving him a chance, he's grown into a person who has the power to like actually defend the innocent and actually, say what he means. And he says it by pounding the crap out of Arion later on in the episode. I think there's so much depth with this flashback. I think they delivered it so well. And I just love seeing a deeper dive into Flea Bottom. I think House of the Dragon actually did one of the main positives for House of the Dragon. I think they did Flea Bottom fairly well in both seasons, season 1 and season 2, diving into like how bad the state of Flea Bottom is under like Aegon's rule. People we talked about it at the beginning of season 2, of people just hanging on the side of the building, and they're like, cut that shit out, Aegon. Like, it's not good for the people watching that every morning. And just seeing that perspective. And it's also really interesting to see a deeper, dirtier perspective of Flea Bottom in just this short glimpse in A Night of Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah. And just to answer your question, they're not related, not the same Daemon.
Yeah, I bet so many people were confused about that. Like, I immediately caught like, yeah, that can't be Daemon. Daemon's dead by then.
Yeah. I guess we can talk a little bit about the Blackfyre and how it starts, because
Sure.
It is pretty important. Like, and we keep seeing that coming back later in the episode when he tries to sell the belt to the blacksmith, and he's like, "Get the shit out of my shop. I don't want to get killed." So during the reign of Aegon IV, which is also known as Aegon the Unworthy, basically, if I wanted to put it in very simple terms, he was one of the worst kings in Targaryen history. And also, he's basically this world's Donald Trump, in the sense that all he cared about was just about getting drunk, eating, and then having sex with literally anybody who you put in front of him.
How long is Aegon IV from House of the Dragons ending?
A couple years. A couple years. I mean, if this is like 100 years after House of the Dragon, more or less.
Yeah.
Let's say about 20, maybe 50 after. I forget exactly with the timeline, but yeah. So he's the one who's king before Daeron the Good, which is the current king right now, in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And one of the things that Aegon the Unworthy used to do is that he would give out lordships and castles to people who basically allowed him to sleep with their daughters. And so like this is just an example. It doesn't necessarily happen, but like, let's say that so-and-so lord in the Riverlands, like Blackwood, would allow him to sleep with one of his daughters. He would give them more properties and take it away from, let's say, like the Brackens, more or less.
Yeah.
So that's basically what his rule was. And because of that, he had a lot of bastard children, not just with like any commoners or like, sex workers or any like that. He also had a lot of bastard children with like noble ladies, like daughters of lords and stuff like that.
Mm.
And one of those people was Daemon Blackfyre, who he apparently, it seems just from reading the books, he liked him better than his actual legitimate son, to the point that he gave him the sword of Aegon the Conqueror, which is Blackfyre, which is where the name Blackfyre comes from.
I was just about to say, like, was his name already Daemon Blackfyre by that point, or was
no? So basically, he adopted the name after the sword.
Got it.
Also because he was just like basically the favorite child, even though he wasn't, a legitimate child.
That must have pissed off the legitimate children.
And Daeron the Good, before he became king, and Aegon the Unworthy was still alive, he was very like a bookish type of prince. He wasn't interested in like being a warrior or any like that. And Daemon was like the opposite of that. He was the warrior, like the the badass of the kingdom, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually Aegon the Unworthy dies. On his deathbed, he legitimizes all of his bastard children, all of them. And because everybody in the realm is like, they don't really like Daeron the Good. Again, because he's not like, your
boring.
typical, he's boring, basically. He's like not a one-on-one comparison, but he's kind of like a Viserys of like, he's not a warrior. He's more like more into the histories and like the politics, I guess. But like he's like the much better king than Viserys ever was. But anyway, so people, they see the fact that Aegon gave Daemon the Blackfyre sword. He legitimizes all of his bastards. Basically, it's like a known secret that he likes Daemon better than he does Daeron. And everybody's like, why are we gonna, now that there's like legitimate, other options for Targaryen rule, why are we gonna keep this guy on the throne? And also something that Daeron does is that he marries off to the Myrtels, and he tries to bring Dorne to the Seven Kingdoms, and that's one of the ways that they keep like Dorne kind of like in touch. And a lot of people don't like Dorne, and
people didn't like people coming in from other. That's kind of shocking. People don't like people coming in from overseas,
from the south side. So people don't like that. That kind of like pushes other people to get behind Daemon's cause. And there's other things that happen that lead to the Blackfyre Rebellion. But that's basically the gist of the Blackfyre Rebellion.
Wow.
All of this illegitimate children thinking that like, oh, now I have a claim because like I'm actually like legitimate. He made me legitimate.
So Daemon led like the Blackfyre part of it. Like, but if Daeron isn't fighting, like Daeron's son by that point were already fighting.
Well, by the time I believe Baelor and some of his children were already like of age.
Okay.
Like I believe one of the things that kind of pisses Daemon off is that Baelor like unhorses him during a tourney.
You mentioned that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So again, like there's just like little things that happen that kind of just both sides of the house kind of like clashing together.
Is all the Blackfyre Rebellion stuff in Fire and Blood? Like
no, you would have to read one of the other history books.
Yeah. George making this guy read so much. God dang.
Finish some book, George. Finish literally anything. Fire and Blood, Dunk and Egg, or the main series, please.
He's too busy talking. I think like he has his own office at HBO. He's just too busy talking with them all the time.
Yeah. And again, like before we go back to the show, one of the funny things that happened this week is that I believe last week or the week before we were talking about some of the summer hall stuff that happens in the future for Dunk and Egg.
I remember
and like I guess spoilers, but like a lot of book readers thought that like Duncan died in Summerhall saving Targaryens, and like that might actually not be the case. He might actually be alive because
more books, baby.
Because Dexter, the kid that plays Egg in the show, he kind of like was like, oh, Egg. George told us that he's actually alive. Like, and you can just see Peter like, shut up, like shut up. Very Mark Ruffalo of Dexter.
Oh, the Mark Ruffalo legacy lives on. That's amazing. Yeah, but it's not like it's going to mean something because like not like George is going to write something about Dunk anytime soon. It's like this guy is so busy.
But but like again, like the whole Blackfyre thing, it really does inform why somebody like even a blacksmith would have the reaction that he has when Duncan tries to sell him stuff that has the Blackfyre sigil. And the Blackfyre sigil is the exact same as the Targaryen one, but like reverse. Instead of a red dragon on a black field, it's a black dragon on a red field.
Gotta keep it simple.
Gotta keep it simple, baby. Marketing.
Marketing.
But like, I do like that the show has been like introducing the whole Blackfyre thing very early on with season 1, because it is a big deal in season 2. Because in the journey that we see Dunk and Egg take, you see the consequences that the quote unquote traitors have to live with after the rebellion is done. All of these lords that supported
Damon
Blackfyre, who had like their lordships and castles, a lot of that stuff was taken away from them and it was given to the loyalists. So you see more of the war world of Westeros after the Blackfyre rebellion, and how people are still very much affected by the fact that they were labeled as traitors.
I can't wait to dive into that in season 2. It's so fascinating seeing like the repercussions of siding with the wrong side.
And there's that great line that Rafe says at the beginning of the flashback of like when Duncan is like saying, "Oh, the war is over. Like, why should we be worried?" And then Rafe says something. Then Rafe says something along the lines of like, "When you hurt somebody, they're gonna want to hurt you back."
Yeah, it's not always over. Like somebody, like he mentioned, like how a petty cousin years later came back and got revenge. Like it's never really over, because somebody's cousin, somebody's brother will always remember it and want to come back for more, which causes another war or another battle.
Yeah. You might forgive people, but you never forget.
Exactly. Not in this universe, especially. Yeah. So yeah, we might see stuff come back, and yeah, it gives me a lot of hype for future seasons. How many novellas are completed? 3 or 4 or 5?
Just 3.
Just 3. Never mind. Okay. So,
but hey, Ira has 12 more, so let the guy cook.
Let him cook. Let's go. And I think people are going to trust Ira moving forward, even if they go beyond the novella, because of the conversations they've had with George.
And Duncan at some point has to quote unquote spread his seed throughout Westeros, because they eventually at some point they go to Winterfell. Hodor is said to be one of the descendants of Duncan. That's why he's like so tall.
What? Hodor too?
Brienne is said to be one of her descendants as well. And also maybe the Cleganes too. So,
okay, Dunk.
So this guy was busy.
He gets around. Okay, this guy, Dunk, the guy we see in season 1, gets around. Are you kidding me? He can even talk to Tanzel. He gets around like that. Shit. Okay, Dunk. I knew the Brienne stuff, but like Hodor and maybe the Clegane, that's just very funny. Good for you, Dunk. But yeah, like again, just to reemphasize, I really loved how effective this flashback was used. And the Rafe character, again, we talked about it with like characters like Baelor, but small but very effective character work for Rafe, and somebody who just has a deep personal connection to Dunk. I really liked how sweet and innocent that scene when they were talking about what they want to do, and he's like, "Well, because I love you," and she's like, "I love you too." Like it feels so like innocent and just like awkward and natural at the same time. It was really great.
It's the calm before the inevitable storm later on.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, and just the way that Dunk was saying he loves Rafe is the same way that he's growing to love Egg in his own way as well. These people who he just has a strong connection to. And he heard Egg as we go back now into the present when he's knocked out, Egg screaming, "Get up!" I think because this is the first time he gets up, right? After the flashback ends, because he falls down again. But he gets up here, and the fight continues, and this just is gnarly. We already talked about Arian's interesting like fighting style, but he's like poking holes in Dunk. He's just poking holes in Dunk. Dunk's taking it. He does Dunk gets some swings in there. He does like defend with his sword a little bit. But that
move where Duncan finally gets like a hold on him and he like kind of like swings the sword across his leg, like his tie.
Ooh, that was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah. So did the sword swing happen before or after like the whole shield bashing stuff?
That happened before, I believe. I think it happens before. I want to say it happens before he takes off his helmet.
Okay.
Because I think that happens, and then he kind of like grabs his, like, Arion grabs the sword back and kind of like tries to like kind of like stab him through like the visor.
Through the visor. That was crazy because Dunk's left hand gets stabbed with the knife, and I trying to hold it, like it pierces his eye. I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, Dunk ain't losing an eye in this match, right? But his eye, he has to take off his helmet because his eye is like bloodied up. Like this is some Apollo Creed type shit. Like it was bad.
It's very funny whenever George and even some of the shows write these very extreme violent things that some characters go through, and then somehow they survive. But then you go back to like Game of Thrones season 1 or the first book, and Drogo just dies out of like a small cut.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Dunk's getting thrown to a lot worse than that.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because like I just finished reading the second novella, Sworn Sword, and I feel like he gets beat up even worse than that than he does in this. So we'll see.
Dunk he has high defense. Cause yeah, if I'm Arion, I'm like, wow, this guy's still not dead. He's still getting up. I'm like, just die already. Poor Arion got a wrong fighter here.
Yeah, but like I do want to talk about that actually, because it goes back to one of the things that we've been talking with the show about how some people just have like a greater purpose, even if it doesn't seem like it.
Yes.
With somebody like Dunk, I feel like a lot of people are gonna view the aftermath of this as like, why did our prince, like the future king of the realm, had to die because of this random guy? That's how people are gonna remember this point of history.
For sure.
But I'm seeing the way that he's fighting and the way that he's taking all of these hits from Arion, and like again, like he should be dead. He should be dead after this, but like he isn't, and like he isn't because again he has a greater purpose to serve throughout the story, and the way that his influence impacts other characters, even characters that are like around in the current story with Game of Thrones, with the books and the show. I believe if I'm not mistaken, Dunk is the one who knights Sir Barristan Selmy in Game of Thrones.
Selmy was like the awesome sword guy, right?
Yeah, the older guy that eventually goes to like Daenerys' camp. In the later seasons, and he dies in the show, but he's still around in the book.
Does he die in the show in that one weird alley scene? Is that him?
Yeah, everyone's like, this is when the show became non-canon.
That was weird as hell.
Just some random guys with like kitchen knives.
He was hyped up, and then he just dies in an alley. I'm like, oh damn, what was the point of that? Okay, was that season 5?
Season 5, yeah.
Oh boy. But yeah, and it's so funny how you mentioned the whole greater purpose angle, because I'm watching this and I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that because he is not like, well, he's getting punctured a lot more than how Jon Snow was. Jon Snow should have died in Battle of the Bastards. Like, this guy had God looking him down, and God was going overtime, saving Jon Snow's ass, overtime, saving Jon Snow, who should have died 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 times in that collision alone, but just got saved because God was looking down on him. He hardly got hit. Dunk over here is getting just hit with a lot of stuff and just getting, no fatal wounds here. So different circumstances, but same mentality.
And again, like it goes to show not only the whole point about like the greater purpose, but also the violence of. Just compare how many hits Duncan takes just in this episode to the one critical one that Baylor takes, just one, and that's the thing that takes him out. It's
just so freaking tragic, so wild. Because as Dunk is like battling Arion, we mentioned it with the knife, but I think right after the whole slice attack happens to Arion, and he screams like that's when we finally, because like the show has been so glued into what's going on between Dunk and Arion. That's when we finally cut to what's going on elsewhere around him in this blood and fog, and we see Baylor, like he goes full Goblet of Fire. That's my boy. That's my son. And he starts going off, and he starts like fighting. He's fighting Lionel and
he goes berserker mode. Yeah,
he goes full berserker mode. He's like he starts going off, and we see him push over Lionel, who hits the dirt, and then we see the lance hit.
Yeah,
which
I find it interesting that he essentially does the same move that Arion did in episode 3 of stabbing the horse with the lance, and that's what makes Lionel fall off of the horse. But yeah, I like something that I really enjoyed about that back and forth between the three of those characters, Maekar, Baylor, and Lionel, is the fact that even though at the beginning it is established that Lionel is very, what's the word, kind of like suspicious of Baylor's involvement and everything. He says that line of like, "Oh, your mother must have loved you a lot." Usually, men who are neglected by their mother fight better, which is a reference to what Maekar, what's his potential will be in the battlefield, because Baylor was the favorite child. He is the favorite child. But one of the things that happens after all of this accident. It's the fact that they start calling Baylor not just Breakspear, but the king who never was, kind of like the same way that Rhaenys was. But in this case, it's not because he was denied the throne, but because he died and he couldn't take it.
What could it be?
And the whole like what if scenario type of thing. But yeah, I found that interesting. Like there's like this more rivalry between the two, but then later on, those same two are the ones who are kind of like tag teaming, Maekar trying to like stop him from going over to Duncan and do his thing.
That part is so fascinating. 'Cause, Lionel even calls out like beyond the whole mother dialogue when Baylor says like, "I'll fight the Kingsguard." He's like, "Is that going to be looked down upon by your gods or whatever?" And Baylor's like, "We'll have to wait and see," with a shrug. It's not like a character flaw, but Baylor, you know what you're doing, right? Like, it's like, oh, we'll see what happens. Like, but yeah, Baylor, you know what you're doing there. So don't try to side skirt it. That part was very fascinating to me. But yeah, it's like Baylor and Lionel, despite their, earlier difference, coming together to be like, hey, let Aerion and Dunk fight it out. Like, we can all make it out of here alive. But I wonder at that point, did they know that Dunk was like this close to even killing Aerion? Did they think Dunk was going to kill Aerion, or were they just like, hey, let them fight it out? What happens, happens. Which is just crazy, because if I'm Maekar, like, that's my boy. Like, if my own brother trying to stop me from defending my son, like, I'm bashing heads too. But again, Maekar couldn't have known. And I think what we haven't referenced is that Baylor is wearing Valar's armor. He's not even wearing his own armor, which is why the head thing doesn't work, right? I assume, right?
Like the show hasn't mentioned that either last week or this week, but that is what happens in the book. Of nobody, like, between Maekar and Baylor, they didn't think that they were gonna participate in the journey, so nobody brought their armor. At least Baylor didn't bring his armor. Also, because he is the hand of the king, he is the prince to be the king in the future. So why would he? Why would he put himself in peril? So in the books, he does borrow the armor of Valar, which which is stated like it doesn't really fit him. It's kind of like I think it's tight on him. You can kind of see in the show as well. What does he say later on in? To Raymond, like all the bites are broke like right away, something like that. So again, like, this armor isn't built for him. That's one of the many reasons why he died. But another point that we haven't talked about is the fact that it seems that Maekar delivered the final blow after Aerion had already revoked his accusations.
I don't think did he deliver it like. Because I feel like we saw the slash, and we saw him getting punched by the shield, but he whispered you.
He whispered it, but like that point, like nobody hears it, but we, the audience, know that. Like the battle was done. Like,
got it. Okay.
Like there was no reason for the other people, even though like of course they didn't know because they couldn't hear it, but like as us as an audience, like we know that it's over, and the fact that it happens after. We know that it's over is what makes it really. It's what it's gonna make it like very hurtful in the end.
It's so crushing, because at that point Maekar is looking over and he sees he just sees an enemy over his son, like literally hands on his like neck, like, oh my god, my son could die at any moment. I have to get over there. That's why he's like punching. He doesn't know at that moment that his son's whispering, "I yield." Like he can't hear that. He can't see that. It's just, man, it's just chaos, fog, destruction. It sucks.
I do find it a bit shocking. Maybe not too shocking because at that point Arion was like exhausted as well and also injured. But I do find it a bit surprising that even though at the very beginning he very much was trying to kill Duncan, once he thinks that he's dead or once he thinks that he's won, or even before that, he does offer Duncan the option of like yield, which like for me, like it is surprising given what type of man this guy is. And then like eventually Duncan falls and everybody thinks that he died, and obviously that's not the case. But I do find it a bit surprising that that's something that he would do of all people in this journey, in this trial.
Yeah. I think at that point, because like he's like, okay, wow, this guy gets up again, I could be in trouble. Like he actually again he senses that his life is actually in danger. He's never felt this before, so he's like, okay, I need this guy to yield because I can't continue fighting him. Again and again. And I just again I love seeing this from Egg's perspective as well. We see a lot of the hurt, the pain, the anguish that's going over Egg's face as he's looking over. I love the line where he's like, wait, like
it's very powerful. I was like, damn, kid.
I know, right? I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Get that Emmy next year.
I hope so. And then you see Egg or you see Dunk just rise up and just like he's like a shadow of himself, but he's still so strong. Like he's still like barely standing up. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I thought that they were gonna film him getting out the way that it happens, and I forget if it's in the first or second movie, but one of the Creeds where he's like on the floor and then he just like wakes up and like I was like, yeah, but like they kind of get there halfway there.
It's so good because this is like the medieval equivalent of MMA boxing. It's so powerful, so strong. But eventually Dunk gets the better of him. He does a full Iron Man or Captain America on Iron Man, just like pounds him with the shield. Arion finally yields and Dunk drags his ass. That's hilarious. Just dragging him on the dirt like a toy and said, say it to them. And then he has to scream that he yields. And all's well that ends well. It's over. We all won. We all survived besides two Humphreys, right? They died.
Both of them died. Yeah.
Tragic. And we all survived here. We're all happy. This is where the show ends and Baelor survives, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But then eventually we do get to Steely Pate and Raymond helping Duncan get off the field. They sit him down. They kind of like try to take the armor, the chainmail off of him.
Yeah, it's like stuck to his.
Did they say that it got like stuck inside of his flesh? That shit is like begging to get an infection or something like that.
That's disgusting. Again, Dunk, you should be on bed rest for like a month. Like shit. Like even modern day medicine would be like, okay, yeah, you're gonna be here for like a week or so, dude. Like it's bad.
Called the pit.
Yeah, get Dr. Robbie and Langdon on his ass. But yeah, shout out to my man Steely Pate. He came through like this entire season, man. One copper. Like really came through for Dunk early on. Now coming through for Dunk, we're removing the armor for him, checking him out like a medic a little bit, doing some little bit of triage. It's great. It's great. And he's the one who helps out Baelor too.
Yeah, something that the people were questioning Ira why he cut from the show last week was a line that Steely Pate gives Duncan at some point before the trial begins. You have all of these people like kind of like rooting for Duncan. They're like cheering, and Duncan is like, "Why are they cheering for me? Why am I to them?" And Steely Pate, says the line of like, "You're a knight who remember his vows." That's not in the show, but I like that you can still feel it.
For sure.
Especially with like that one girl that we saw very early on in the season with the sex worker, the redhead. It's like kind of like I was like, hell yeah, when Duncan knocks Arion on the floor, and that was really funny.
That was awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, like then going to what we were talking about, Baelor comes in. He tells like don't pour boiling
oil
oil.
That would
You're gonna kill him. I'll send my maester after they finish tending to my brother.
He's worried about his brother, Edgar. He's worried about his brother. Are you kidding me?
And this is what one of the many things that makes it as painful as it is. You know, they're taking his helmet off, and as that's happening, he kind of goes to Raymond and is like, "I'm sure that's my brother's mace. He's strong." But like he's like saying it with a smile.
Yeah. He's just so proud of your older brother, like it's just, or younger brother. Yeah.
And then it takes you back to the line that he gives Egg last week of, "One must love our brothers, even if we have like differences," and this very much is the living representation of that.
You knew that was gonna happen when he delivered that line last week. Yeah, that's some evil shit. That is some great. I forgot about that line. Yeah, like one must love their brother, and then to fall because of his own brother by accident is just so dark and so tragic. Oh my god.
And then eventually, you know, the helmet is off. He turns around and we see that he's
but before this, like, what does he say to Dunk? Like he said, like Dunk is like professing his claim to Baelor, right?
Yeah,
like,
he kneels. He's like,
dying,
"I'm your man."
Out. He's like, "I'm your guy, dude." Like he really feels like Baelor. And what could have been? Like you don't know. What does Baelor say to Dunk? Like the realm needs good men, right?
That's the line that Baelor gives Duncan.
Yeah. Like the realm needs like he really was proud of Dunk. He recognized Dunk even more so after this battle. What could have been? Dunk could have traveled. You know, you never know. He could have been with the king.
It's slightly different how they exchange in the books. Duncan is like, "Oh, I'm your man," and Baelor is like, "My man." but like at this point, you still don't know that he's like, you know, losing conscious. But eventually what happens, and it is a little bit more gnarly in the book. I feel like there's like an actual description, like the piece like falling off alongside the helmet when they pull it out of his head.
But I feel like this one's gross too, because you can see the skull. You can see like the white bits of like the skull fragments in his back. People are like, what if they just kept the helmet on him the whole time? Like, what if we never took it off? Like, would he be fine? No, he just walked around everywhere with just like a broken helmet on him. Like Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Ew, like, man, just a chunk. Like, I can't imagine being, you know, Steely P and Raymond just initially watching that, like, oh my god, like, this changes everything. It's like the president dying in your arms. You're just like, oh my god, like the president's son. I mean, you know, it's like, oh my god, like you were supposed to live. This isn't supposed to happen. This isn't real. Like.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And Dunk's reaction, man. Oh god, great action.
The fact that his first where his head goes first is "I'm sorry," but it's not just him apologizing to Baelor because he knows that he died for him. It's the fact like it almost feels like a story of like, I'm sorry to like literally every single person in the Seven Kingdoms that this is happening, because like it's not his fault. It is Arion's in a sense. None of this should have happened. This is just like a petty rivalry that shouldn't have happened to begin with. And you know, the consequences of that petty rivalry is like the loss of what could have been, that would have been a great king.
It's gonna be felt for a long time, especially for Dunk. And yeah, this is where the episode ends. You know, once again, phenomenal score from Dan Romer as well. But yeah, like, wow. And the previews, I'm already crying for Makar. Like, Makar had me balling in the previews. Or Makar's like, you know, please take care of Egg. I can't do shit anymore. I'm like, god damn. But then Dunk and Makar both going there like their dual depression routes. Like, I totally understand both. Makar accidentally killing his own brother. If I can't even imagine that, but like, I would be a hollow version of myself if I'm Makar. Like, the responsibilities like is put on you, the stigma, like your responsibility, the stigma is put on you, especially in this kind of world. Like, oh my god. But then Dunk, it's like, I think it's Falar talking to Dunk. It's like, hey, my father died for you. It's like, whew, that conversation is going to be juicy. And Dunk, you know, I could feel Dunk being like very much like, get away from me. I'm bad. I'm bad ilk.
Very Jon Snow.
Very Jon Snow. I don't want it. I can't be with you anymore. I'm shit. Like I cost the world their king who never was. So yeah, the next episode is going to be very, very emotional, very heartfelt, and very just tragic all the way around. But already, I'm very interested in what the show has delivered already for Maekar and Dunk, and how that's going to elevate what we see in the finale between Maekar and Dunk. They seem to be having a number of, or at least one major conversation in the finale. So I'm looking forward to that because Maekar's actor is also just very good as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like a full like scene by himself. It's always been like in a room, but Maekar, I can't wait to see what he delivers in the finale.
Next week is gonna be his Emmy clip.
I hope so. Remember we thought like Patty Constantine was going to sweep the Emmys because he's so good at the series, and he was nowhere to be seen. It was crickets.
What
that
happened?
was wild. That was a horrible campaign job from HBO. I mean, he should have been everywhere. Patty should have been everywhere. I'm sorry, but yeah, like I don't know what the Baylor actor. I forget his name right now. I don't know if he'll be nominated because he's very good, but he's like very good and just like he's just doing his thing. But it's not a lot of depth from Baylor. But I think we'll get some stuff from Maekar. Maybe. But yeah, phenomenal episode. Great episode.
Yeah, one of the things that makes Maekar's tragedy as good, I guess you could say, as it is because not only is he the younger brother that kind of gets like forgotten. We talk about episode 2 about how like Baylor, the hand of the king, la 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 la, and his brother Maekar. He's kind of like an afterthought in a sense. So there's that factor, and then I believe his wife dies, and then you have the problem of like most of his children seem to be like some sort of disappointment to him. Daron is like drunken himself to an early grave. Arion is a dick even if he doesn't want to admit it, and Edgar, like he's still young, he can like prove himself, but he's like the youngest, and then like his other son Aemon, he's off to the Citadel to become a maester. So he very much doesn't have like what I would assume the relationship was between Baylor and Valar of like, oh, here's like this knight who has like a few wins under his belt and things like that.
Baylor and Valar feel like like to Rhaenyra and what's Rhaenyra's oldest son? What's his name again?
Jace.
Like Jace, like Rhaenyra and Jace have a very healthy mother and son relationship. It feels like that with the same thing here with Baylor and Valar. And
then to add on top of all of those things, we obviously have the tragedy of him delivering the accidental blow. So I'm very excited for what's going to happen next week. I'm very interested in that conversation. What I'm assuming is between Duncan and Lionel at the forest.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, Lionel saying like Baylor, like we mentioned, like Baylor didn't have that many skin in the game. Like, why do you like? He seems to be like the counter argument where Dunk's gonna be feeling bad and awful about Baylor, and he's like, you shouldn't. I think Lionel's saying like you shouldn't feel too bad because he wasn't being all princely and just anyways because he knew he coming in here that he wasn't supposed to die anyways. Like he had so much going for him in this battle, it didn't really cost him anything. So yeah, Lionel's going against the counter argument here to Dunk's depression. It's not going to be as effective, I think, but
Yeah, I don't think Duncan would see it like that. I don't think he would agree with Lionel and in that sense in particular. And it might like be the beginning of like not a rivalry, but like kind of like a shift in the relationship.
Oh no!
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
They're supposed to be bros. They're supposed to be dancing to each other. What happened to the parties? We had like 3 episodes in a row of just parties and tug of war, drinking, and then everything went to shit in episode 4. So yeah, great episode. A lot of scary, interesting, fascinating implications, personal implications for the future. We know Dunk and Egg go on their adventures, but what happens in the immediate aftermath? I can't imagine what Dunk's going through, and I can't wait to see how they direct Dunk's headspace. They've done a very good job of getting into Dunk's headspace throughout this entire show. The show is told through mostly his perspective, and I like that a lot. So yeah, can't wait to see what's going on. But yeah, we'll be back with our last episode for this series, for season 1 at least, next week. This has gone on way too fast, Edgar. I'm gonna miss this, but we're gonna be back, baby, in a few short months. It's already February. We'll be back in June, maybe May, June, late May, early June for the House of the Dragon, whenever that comes out.
I miss Matt Smith on my screen, Evan.
Damon's so good. You guys can talk shit about House of the Dragon all you want. You're wrong, but Damon is amazing. Damon is my dog. Matt Smith is my dog. I miss Emma. I miss Matt. I miss my was it Olivia Cook? Oh my god. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, catch me on Twitter, Harris EV9. Watching I watched a lot of movies this week. I watched The Goat today.
How was that?
That was fun. It was a fun, fun light movie.
No Wuthering Heights for you?
I saw that on Friday.
We'll talk about it later sometime.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either.
Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't hate it. I was smiling a lot throughout the movie. I had a good time.
It's no Saltburn.
It's no. I like Saltburn a lot.
Baby.
I looked at my the 2022, whatever that movie came out ranking. It was like number 12 or 13. It was high.
That movie's in my top 10. Yeah, it's fun.
It's good. Damn it! Thank you, Edgar. This is why we do the podcast together. Yeah, find me again on Twitter, Harris EV9. Nathan and I will be back this week on My Cup of Tea, watching 3 more episodes of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. The season 2 premiere comes out in 2 weeks. Can't wait to dive into that. There's also a leaked description, possibly. It's kind of been, went back a little bit, but for -0, there's an early plot description that I want to talk about because we're huge kaiju fans over there. But yeah, catch me on other podcasts over there. We're back at the end of the month talking about everything we watched in February. It's been a solid month so far. Oh, go watch Crime 101, guys. Great movie.
Hell yeah.
Great movie.
This is why we do the podcast.
It might be my favorite movie of the month when all is said and done. So yeah, great show.
You can find me at EDG or TEG on all social media. You can find my Crime 101 review at Letter Play Reviews. And some of my other written work at the Cinema Spot. You can find this podcast at WHFG Podcasts. As Evan said, we'll be back for our monthly recap in a few weeks for the month of February. And we'll be back next week for the finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, well, actually, I still haven't seen season, 2, 3 of the latest season of Star Wars. What's it called?
Visions,
there you go. So I might start that soon. Just because I'm in a Star Wars mood, I saw The Force Awakens in theaters for the first time since 2015.
When?
This past Saturday.
Wow.
The Academy Museum. Plays really well. People lost their shit when Rey catch the lightsaber. Like, people like these movies. Like, the internet is not real. Don't listen to the haters.
That scene is unbelievable. I need to watch Force Awakens in theaters again. I need to watch it. It's a crime we didn't have that in December of last year. I need to watch that movie and Last Jedi in theaters again. Those were religious experiences. For sure.
And I've been catching up with Wonder Man, so we'll be talking about that in the February episode. Really good show. I was surprised just how much I love that show.
Oh, it's 10 out of 10 for me. 5 out of 5.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.